The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed by this podcast, as well as its hosts, are for entertainment purposes only. The viewpoints expressed, although based on very real topics, are not to be taken as fact. With that being said, enjoy the show.
Hello, world. Hello, world. Hello, world. Welcome to Pardon the Politics podcast. We back. I'm back. Really? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hello, world. Hello, world. Welcome to Pardon the Politics podcast. We back. I'm back. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Really? Pardon the Politics podcast. Hello, world. Welcome back to Pardon the Politics podcast, season 3, episode 20. I am your co-host, Jeezy. Along with me on this episode, I have to my left, my brother Manny.
Hey, what's good? What's good?
In the red corner, we have none other than the chairman of chaos, brother Chuck. How you doing today, brother?
Really?
Yes, indeed. The boys is bike. We are here for another episode. To our listeners, welcome. Thank you for tuning in and lending us your ear on another week's episode of Pardon the Politics podcast. Gentlemen, this might have been a quiet week.
It's a quiet week, man.
See.
Oh no, we should knock on wood. Or
we shouldn't have said anything.
You're right.
We're about to jinx it. Mess it up.
Your grandma said, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all.
She would have told us not to have this podcast.
Yep. All things considered, in what we have typically been accustomed to from a week-to-week basis, maybe it was because this week was kind of like Home Alone, and since the family was away, JD didn't cause it too much disturbance. Marco Rubio got a free trip. Nobody had to bother RFK.
Cash went scuba diving.
Look.
Yeah, there was some controversy behind that.
Yes, it was. But I guess when the cat's away, the mice shall play. So
and he took the drunkard along with him. So
KXF went with him.
Yeah, KXF went with him, so he couldn't get in no trouble.
Yeah,
had to keep your eye on him.
KXF don't like sake.
I don't think they serve sake in China. I think it's Japanese.
Hey, look. Rice wine. Look, you here. I eat my
rice, Thai rice.
Yeah, fried rice, Thai rice, bro. Wait. But we're already right there. I guess we'll take the ride with Trump over to the other side of town, and we'll go to China for our first segment. Brother Trump, which first of all, I don't know how in the world Trump made the trip. I'd love to see what the preparation went in for that.
Listen, that diaper bag.
Depends from floor to ceiling.
That to-go bag. I know that bathroom on Air Force One got to be top tier.
They have had to widen it, put a high toilet in it because it sit too low.
Ain't nothing worse than a little toilet in a big person,
right? Nothing.
Especially when you got to go.
Boy, when nature calls.
As Kim would say, when love calls your name. Brother Trump took a trip over this week. To our listeners,
not Brother
Trump. I forgot. Mr. Trump.
Yeah.
Mr. Trump. Donnie T. We'll keep it clean. Donnie T took a trip this past week over to China to see Xi Jinping for a diplomatic trip, and
could have gone worse.
Could have gone worse.
Yes,
could have gone worse.
It could have.
Could have definitely gone worse. I think the headlines coming out of it is that there was no huge breakthroughs, but there was also no major blowups, unless you're talking about Trump's diaper. Because I got to know that Chinese food did not sit well with stuff.
I don't even think he ate their Chinese food, bro. There's no way.
It would not shock me if in all that pre-cargo that we send over before a U.S. presidential visit, if they sent like a mobile McDonald's.
Oh, yeah. First for sure. For sure. Eating 2-day-old McDonald's.
No. I think
no. Set up a McDonald's.
Yeah.
Oh,
because I know I know for a fact that Burger King has like a trailer.
Yeah.
That they can deploy that is like just a mini Burger King. I have to assume McDonald's has the same capacity or has gained that capacity at some point.
Doing that for the president is wild, bro.
Listen,
when he got pack you a ham sandwich, bro.
When he got special guests, he rolled out the McDonald's. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
How Trump look serving cool Big Macs? Nah, you go ahead and fry them fresh. Set up that trailer right outside the White House.
Hold on, because wasn't it the University of Georgia, whoever he gave that big platter of McDonald's that had been sitting there? You can tell. And look, the fries had gone limp and loose. You know that food was cold. He don't care about giving them cold. He's not gonna be cold, right? But he'll serve cold food,
right? Well, on this trip, you know, there wasn't any majorness that came out of it from a headline perspective. But one part I want to touch on, and I want to hopefully just get through a couple of takeaways of Trump's trip. He was there for about, I want to say 43 hours in Beijing. Yeah. I will say that they did run a timer, and they said that from the time it took Trump to get out of the plane to the bottom of the stairs was about 4 Obamas.
Yeah, bro.
4 Obamas.
Y'all gotta stop doing this, man.
Please.
Y'all know,
bro, y'all know it rises his nerves, man. It tick him off every time y'all bring up that man's name.
He cannot stand that man.
Every time y'all do that, somebody's tariff goes up.
Bruh, somebody.
Every time. Set a clock.
You get 5%. You get 10%.
Yep. Every time y'all bring it up. But he got to Beijing. He was there for about 43 hours. And the trip produced no major breakthroughs, but we also avoided public embarrassment or diplomatic chaos, which helped Xi project control and stability. Now, China's goal seemed to be, let's create rules for engagement. Let's reduce unpredictability and keep the U.S.-China relationship manageable, if you even want to call it that. And that matters because China is dealing with economic pressure at home, and they want to have a calmer foreign policy environment. So I'll ask this question first to you, Chuck. Did Trump walk away from this trip with any leverage here, or did Xi basically get the photo op, the stability, and the respect without having to give Trump much in return?
Well, first off, I want to start this by saying I got to salute China in the grandstanding that they do when they have a spectacle or a show. Yeah. You think about when they had the Olympics there and the extravagance and the specter and the grandiose nature of the opening and the closing ceremony. And when the pageantry that went on for Trump and the delegation that came in, like they gave them they laid out, I guess, the red carpet.
The red carpet.
But like it was very grandiose. So you know, did the lavish banquet at the Great Hall, just the many different things. So first off, I want to give them their I guess you say their flowers, and just the pageantry and the beautiful nature of their welcoming in their ceremonies. Mm-hmm. But to your question, going into this, first and foremost, for those who don't know, this was supposed to happen in April and got pushed back because of the mess that was made in Iran. Mm-hmm. So they pushed this meeting back to May. And going into this, I already believe that the world was already looking at Trump funny. Yeah. And he's already caused an embarrassment to the U.S. and the U.S. military. And if I'm not mistaken, there was a someone in Germany, I don't know, it might have been the prime minister, who cares? But they already said that the U.S. did not look as mighty and as strong as everybody perceived them to be because of the fumbling in Iran. So going over here, you playing behind. You know, your proverbial bank account is overdrawn, and you're going over here trying to get a new deposit, and you have no leverage. It's very much like when he was popping off, and then hey, can you guys come help us open up the Strait of Hormuz again,
bro?
Nah, y'all got it.
We don't need your help. Can you help us?
Well, you're talking all this junk, and now you're asking for help, and a lot of that is what happened over there. I'm not gonna say a lot of it, but the talks about Iran happened while he was there, and so you coming over here at this point, like, hey, go talk to your boy. You know, I tried to reason with them, but they're really not listening to me. Now I know China is struggling economically. They're in a tough spot economically right now.
Yeah.
And part of that is being contributed to what's going on in the Middle East because China's not getting the oil that they normally would get through that area because of the strait being shut down. They rely on other things from that area. And also it's hindering their exports and shipping. As we've stated time and time again, that channel is a vital shipping avenue. And so with this, we are the beggars, and beggars can't be choosers.
Bruh.
And so with that, I honestly feel that's where we are. And we'll delve deeper into many other aspects of this trip. But just off your initial question, we had no leverage. We're coming with our hands up, and I ain't gonna say a sign of submission, but we're definitely looking weak.
I mean, it's the same thing that happened to Russia when they went in Ukraine, where we thought Russia was going to be in and out of Ukraine in a week. Like, what are we? We're heading into month 3 of the war with Iran, and everyone thought that this was going to be done relatively quickly. And it's not. So it's like, to have leverage, you have to have something to offer. And what do we have to offer? And usually what our big bargaining chip with China hit is we're offering access to the U.S. economy. That's usually the big bargaining chip that we have in those discussions with China. And we don't have that right now because our economy is not doing great.
Yeah.
For the vast majority of people. Who especially,
but the stock market is up.
Stock market's up, up and to the right. But again, when you look at a manufacturing powerhouse that is China buying things, I'm not an expert in mathematics, but if I have one person that buys one thing and 10 people that buy 10 things, if those 10 people, their ability to be able to buy that one thing is impacted, that's going to hurt me more than the one person being able to buy 10 things but still only buying one.
Yep.
So we're not in a great position, or at least one that is enviable to really have some type of leverage over Russia. I'm sorry, over China, because then again, they can go to Russia to get that oil.
Yeah.
I think that right now the spot where China is winning is because now they're open to trading oil on non-US dollar, non-petrol dollar. So, but we're down bad. We're down bad. So we're, like Chuck said, very, very much walking in there saying, please, sir, keep buying. Keep buying our treasuries. And I keep sending stuff for cheap.
I think you definitely can tell that energy from seeing Trump's reaction and certain things. I don't know if you guys saw the clip where he's walking around the garden that she has. And I don't know if you've ever seen somebody that's really trying to like kiss up, but he's like, oh my God, wow, this is so amazing. And I'm like, now Trump, I'm sitting there looking, like, I mean, now granted, I'm sure it's well maintained, but come on now, you calm down a little bit.
Jeezy, to that point, he was like, oh, this is magnificent, like none other. This is
Trump don't even use words like that. That's why I'm like, yeah.
They wrote down all the words to interject, and let's not forget, Xi does not speak English.
No.
And Trump was talking his head off.
But I think he understands, because some of them facial expressions he made was like, nah, I ain't feeling it. But unless he had one of them translating earbuds in.
Yeah, he may have.
I mean,
he might have got
some of
Amazon.
this Chinese tech is wild.
Hey, Xiaomi makes some of the dopest phones out there. So yeah.
Hey, bro, I definitely think that to Chuck's point though, he might not speak it. He definitely understand it, and I've got a lot from that 43 hours, man. The faces that she make.
Bruh.
He ain't for a whole lot of foolery, but he give off that black grandma vibe, bro. Bro, I am not with it.
When you said that in the group chat, I laughed.
I'm telling you,
almost uncontrollably for 2 minutes.
Bro, I've seen that face too many times, bro.
I spot the BS and I'm not with it.
Yeah, I'm not with it. Whether it's in English or whatever, I can spot it. Well, I think one thing that I want to bring up too as another takeaway from this trip is Taiwan, and Taiwan becoming the quietly explosive issue here. And Taiwan may be the biggest long-term story from this trip, because Xi has already reported. I feel like we're gonna be butchering his name, bro.
Mm-hmm.
But
y'all know
President
who we're talking about.
G X Y
G wee. Right. He reportedly centered Taiwan early in the summit and made clear that China sees Taiwan as a red line. Trump then said that he had not decided whether to move forward with a multi-billion-dollar arms deal to Taiwan, which created some uncertainty. Now, it's being reported that some Trump advisors now fear that China could move against Taiwan within the next 5 years. And they worry that the U.S. economy is not ready for the shock that would hit the semiconductor and the AI supply chain. Now, Taiwan's president has responded to this strongly, saying that Taiwan will not be sacrificed or traded, and that U.S. arms sales are part of America's legal security commitment under the Taiwan Relations Act. So, Manny, I want to ask you this. Should Trump treat Taiwan as a negotiating chip with China, or is that dangerous because it makes Taiwan feel like a bargaining piece instead of a diplomatic partner?
Yeah, so they are absolutely a bargaining chip. Like, let's kind of be, first of all, when we talk about Donald Trump and making deals, especially internationally, everything is a bargaining chip.
Everything and everybody except for him.
That's a fact.
If it holds value, it can be traded for more or less value. I think what's interesting here is the U.S. recognizes the one China policy that basically acknowledges that Taiwan is part of China. And for our listeners at home, it would essentially be like Florida. We'll say Florida or Texas or South Carolina.
No, Florida's perfect because it's not the United States.
It's right there. But it's like Florida saying, I'm my own country. we not part of the U.S. anymore.
Especially South Florida.
Right. and then we as the U.S. like, yes, you are. And then China trying to do a deal with Florida outside of any deals with the United States. So I think that makes it complicated. But you're right about the semiconductor space, especially with the gold rush of making chips and AI pushing the production of chips. It's problematic, and it's not something that you can fix in terms of capacity and output in 4 years. Like, we have been dependent on Taiwan for their chip production abilities for a very, very long time. Now, individual companies have started shifting. You've seen Apple now bringing all their stuff together and outside of Taiwan. I think we're going to see individual companies do that. But when we're talking about large, swooping infrastructure, that's really, really hard. And I think it was a $14 billion deal. I think that's going to cause issues in Congress because we've already approved it.
Yeah.
But let's say we step away from that deal. Like, hey, we're not going to send you. What's that message that we then send at that moment to Japan, to South Korea, to the Philippines, all of our economic partners in that corridor? It looks real bad. And how do we regain that credibility? And how do these countries start then adjusting themselves in their relationships with the U.S. because of that? So I think it's rough. Will we trade? Will we be willing to trade our positioning on Taiwan to China for something? Yes. Is it going to be something that we want? Probably not.
No,
But not at all.
It'll be a new gold jet.
Yeah, but like,
Oh my God.
well, and to the point you made earlier, Chuck, about the pageantry, if there is one person who loves some good pageantry, especially when it is targeted at him, and that is one Donald John Trump.
Facts on facts.
They would have done. I'm surprised there wasn't a drone show. Be like, oh, look at all these bright colors in the side.
She said that costs too much now.
Hold on.
We'll let the kids out of school for a day and let them, wave the flag.
Jump around.
Yeah, but no, you talking about a drone show.
We gonna give him our bare minimum, and he's gonna think it's a whole lot.
Yep.
But nah. But to the point about Taiwan, and it's very, very telling. It's very disconcerting, I'm sure, to the Taiwanese to hear Trump say that he had not made a decision on whether to proceed with the arms sale. Hold on.
It's already been approved.
We came to an agreement. Like this was negotiated and agreed upon. So what do you mean you don't want to keep going?
But then we've seen that trend with Trump, though.
Oh, for sure.
He say one thing, but when he go talk to somebody else, something totally different.
But the best price. Give me the best price that's gonna be most beneficial to me.
How can you deem yourself as the best negotiator, knowing how to make a deal when you don't have a line? There's no line that you won't cross.
but hear me out real quick. And geez, hit my theme music.
Hey,
let's go.
What if it's not actually about, arming Taiwan? What if we are blowing through our supplies in Iran so fast that we don't want to actually ship some of this stuff over because we kind of need it on hand over these next couple months and years while everything kind of plays itself out? I get to see that being a very quiet undertone on
like somebody don't know how to manage their resources properly.
If only
sounds very familiar with this administration.
If only the Department of Defense had passed an audit, maybe we'll know exactly what we have. And
wasn't it reported that JD kind of had ring this alarm saying, "Hey, I don't think we got as much on hand as we keep saying."
So JD was definitely the one saying, "Hey, I don't think we should do this, but if you're gonna do it, I support you."
It's too convenient of a thing.
Yeah.
And I think what Trump is going to lack in this scenario, specifically around this scenario, is how does Taiwan respond? Because what they could respond with is, well, cool, we're not sending you any more chips, or we're going to incredibly slash chips.
Yeah.
Because not only are we not ready for that type of shift 5 to 7 years from now, we're definitely not ready for that shift right now.
What? We would be pitiful.
You right now in the chip world, you cannot find appropriately priced RAM because of the AI boom. I think they're saying a Raspberry Pi now, Chuck, costs like $100.
Yep.
That you could have got for nothing five years ago
for cheap, and had it shipped to you via Amazon quickly. But and for Taiwan, hopefully they are preparing themselves because, as Trump said, he heard Xi out, and he is strongly opposed, which everybody knew, to Taiwanese independence. Why are you hearing him out? What is there to hear out? You know where he stands.
Exactly where he stands.
And to me, I think this was the strongest point for Xi.
Right.
Because he was like, hey, we need to be friends. It works best when we're both working together, we're friends. But one thing we're not about to do is let Taiwan be independent, because that's going to mess up this friendship and put it in great jeopardy. His exact words, put the relationship in great jeopardy. Great jeopardy.
You're not about to come to my house and talk to me about what I'm going to do, what belongs to me and mine.
with the old classic gospel, sweep around your own front door, for you try to sweep around mine.
Like,
yes, sir.
But it's like, in that same scenario, you come and you grab my remote from my TV and be like, hey,
let's watch this.
I'll sell it back to you. You're like,
bruh,
you don't hand me my TV.
If you don't give me my remote.
First off, you bet not even put your eyes on my remote. That is that's like the scepter to a man.
Straight violation.
Sitting on his throne, the king of this castle, the remote is his scepter.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I hand it to you,
don't you touch it.
Mm-hmm. Don't you touch it.
And certainly don't you change no channel.
Ooh. My.
And Trump said the last thing we need right now is a war that's 9,500 miles away. And you know what?
The last thing we needed was a war.
Period.
That was period. Yeah, period.
But he was like, it's 59 miles away. We're 9,500 miles away. First off, Trump, let's not act like we aren't one of the few countries that can put boots on the ground anywhere in the world in under 2 hours if we really needed to.
Boots on the ground, boots in made for walking. Just leave the boots at home.
Bruh. Just take the boots off.
Take them off. Leave them at home.
Get somewhere.
Sit them by the front door. In fact, put them in the closet. Don't even leave them by the door. You leave them by the door. You
put them in the box and put them up, bro.
Like it's ridiculous. Now, I don't know if we want to move to talk about something else, because Taiwan.
It's going to be playing out for a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
Good luck.
This won't be the last time we mention them. But there was another familiar name that came up, and that is Iran. And Trump
ran. You ran. We ran.
But Trump wants China's help on Iran. But I think China stayed careful in this. So Trump went into the summit wanting China to help pressure Iran. And I believe we heard Marco Rubio. First of all, did y'all know that apparently Marco Rubio was saying that he's not allowed into China, but they changed like his name so that he could come, and they said it's Marco Rubio, the senator, who's not welcome into China. The diplomat, he can come.
Completely different person.
So that told me people kind of swept over that, but I said nah.
I missed that one.
Hey, bro, I was like, that's kind of badass by China, because they're like, look, if you come talking peaceful, you can come in, but the minute you start saying anything we don't like.
China has sanctioned a bunch of our politicians, like in the same way we do other people.
Yeah.
And it gets looked to the other side because, like, when are you going to go over there? But I think it was interesting that China said, all right, come on.
You come with your diplomatic hat. If you come with that senator talk,
mind yourself.
China's probably feels bad for Marco. Man got 8 jobs and counting. Like, things changing.
China don't feel bad for nobody.
They don't. Nobody you heard about the child labor? You heard about the child labor in China?
You talking about how hard he working?
Good point.
In that lens, he ain't working harder.
In old China, they used to block the people feet so they ain't grow no more.
Bruh.
They used to restrict what how many children you can have. They don't care about no Marco Rubio.
Nah, he ain't working hard enough in their eyes. But Marco Rubio.
Real quick, we're speaking of being restricted. Did y'all see the clip of the reporters who got ushered into a different room and who was part of the motorcade? They were trying to follow Trump and Xi, and they was like, "No, y'all can't go in here. Y'all got to go over here." Like it was a mess. It was a mess.
We don't play them games over here.
No. Everything ain't for your eyes.
Yep.
Right.
Go to the children's table.
Grown folks talking, hush your mouth.
Yes, sir. And don't repeat nothing you hear. Mm-hmm. But Marco said the same thing that hey, we're hoping that they can help us. Essentially because China has major economic ties with Iran and rely heavily on their energy flow in the Middle East. So Trump said that Xi offered to help with the deal, but China's public position was much more cautious, calling for an end to hostilities and safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Without clearly siding with Trump on the whole pressuring campaign. And that's important. Because China wants to look like a global peacemaker, not America's assistant. That's very important for them. So it has
I challenge that. I don't actually think they want to look like the global peacemakers. I think they would rather look like global kingmakers.
Well, when you compare it to looking like America's assistant, they definitely don't want to look like their assistant.
Errand boys.
Yeah. Nah, we're not doing that. This ain't this.
Yeah, very much so.
But it has relationships in Iran and Gulf countries, Israel and Russia. So Beijing is trying to keep all doors open. But when you look at this, and I'll toss this question to you, Chuck, is China actually helping Trump on Iran, or is China just saying enough to look responsible while still protecting their own interests?
China is helping China.
First and
Simple
foremost.
as that. China is helping China. So a couple of things that I pulled from looking into all of this in regards to this Iran situation. They agree with the U.S. that Iran does not need to have any nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
We understand why.
That would be but that's a global stance of every nuclear power.
Yeah. Then they also say the Strait of Hormuz should remain open, be reopened, be demilitarized, and free of tolls. Again, China helping China.
Yep.
We don't need to be paying no extra $2 million per ship. We need to be able to flow like we need to flow so we can get our commerce through and get the commerce out and go about our way and not have any troubles. They ain't got nothing to do with Trump.
Yeah.
That benefits me.
That help me.
It just so happens
it benefits you too.
It benefits you too. But
you can find a win for yourself in the win for me.
Yep. Exactly. And then it was interesting that they expressed interest. Key words here. Expressed interest in buying more American oil to reduce the reliance on the strait. Lip service.
Yep.
Lip service. Again, like you started this off by saying there were no major deals set forth. If you wanted to buy more, you could have said it, locked in the deal right then and said, we're going to buy X amount of barrels of oil for X amount of dollars or whatever over the next period of time. Nah, but we're exploring the option of. Right. So in that, to re-emphasize your question, China's helping China, and it's funny that their foreign ministry issued a separate statement, basically saying this war and conflict should have never happened in the first place. So in that, hey, like I started in the very beginning, Trump, you came in here looking foolish, and we're gonna continue to tell you this was foolish. But go ahead and get this over so we can get back to doing what we need to do for us so we can get our money flowing again, because we were already, hitting a rough patch, and this has made it a little rougher. And we ain't got time for it.
My thing that I don't understand, and then Manny, I'll go to you, is how do you ask someone for assistance in something that you started? If just because if you start a fight with my homeboy, I had nothing to do with it.
I had nothing.
And then you say, hey, I know you cool with your homie. Hey man, talk to him so we can squash the beef. Wait a minute. You started it with him. Just because I know him or I'm cool with him don't mean that I got anything to do with what's going on. So how do you ask for assistance in a mess that you started? But
the same way whoever said that earlier, Trump has no line.
Yeah.
None.
Simple as that.
Simple as that. He ain't got no line.
Go ahead, brother man.
And I think the interesting part of this is if you take out the Strait of Hormuz being closed, there's nothing that China wants more than the U.S. fighting a war.
Fighting facts.
Yep.
Facts.
Like, this is good for them. And on two fronts. You're cycling through a whole bunch of your stockpile. You're having to buy stuff, and the U.S. doesn't really make anything like that like it did in World War II. So you got to buy stuff from China. China wins both economically and from a position standpoint. The only reason China cares about the Strait of Hormuz, the entire war, is because of the Strait.
Yep. So simple as that.
And because notice all of those comments that they've made have been like, hey, we should probably stop the war. But most of the comments have been about the Strait.
Right,
You take care of the Strait. And then
war
y'all
probably ain't good for everybody, but we got to do something about that Strait. And I got to believe that behind the scenes, they're like, hey, look, can y'all let us maybe get about 3 ships through this week to kind of help us ease up a little bit?
Because here's one thing.
A little bit straightened.
That's all a little bit straightened.
Here's the one thing that we didn't hear about: the South China Sea, and China, and how China lays claim over that. And that's been one of the biggest issues.
Been a big issue
that we heard nothing about.
Crickets.
I'm talking about tensions, basically warships blowing out their chests.
Yep.
That's a very astute point, my good brother.
Super.
It was crickets on that.
Yes, sir.
No, it wasn't even crickets. Crickets make noise. That was definitely hush mouth.
Hush mouth. Well, when you look at, moving from that point and moving to the business side and the optics that came with it, Trump brought some guests along with him on this trip. And he brought some CEOs with him and leaned into the. Yeah, he brought a caravan. He leaned a caravan. So he leaned into this idea that American business can benefit from better access to China. But reporting suggests the trip did not produce major, and Chuck's already said it, but it did not produce major announced deals from that business delegation. So there were signs of movement on trade and investment discussions, but the deeper issue remains. The U.S. and China are still locked in competition over technology, over manufacturing, over tariffs, over chips, and just global influence and all. So when you look at this, and when Trump brings these CEOs on a trip like this and trying to use this as a idea to lean more into American business, is it smart economic diplomacy, or is it risking looking like American business leaders are just there for the ceremony or for their own interests, vetted interests? I'll throw that to you, Manny.
I mean, there can be conjoined wins in all this. And I think one part of it is, if I'm a U.S. company, so we had Tesla, NVIDIA, Apple, Boeing, BlackRock, NVIDIA, Apple, Boeing, BlackRock, Blackstone, Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, Cargill, GE, Qualcomm, Micron, Coherent, Visa, MasterCard, and Meta.
Hey man, how much taxpayer dollars for all them folks to go on that trip now?
Bruh. And
security
midway, he picked them up midway en route.
Oh, bruh. Never
ain't
mind.
like-
That
it ain't
might
like
ask
they
the
pulled
wrong
up on-
question.
It ain't like they pulled up on him and they all jumped out. He picked them up mid route.
Bro, he used it. What they call it? Uber share. What's the joke we use?
There's a new ride share
What's that
system
option?
called Fetty. It's called Fetty group ride share.
I was about to say I know that Uber had an option, but I know we were a little more blessed that we didn't have to use that option. Thank the Lord. We can just get our own Uber.
Yeah.
So he brought on all these people,
Yeah.
and they all have their individual reasons for being there. And I think, do they get to walk around with the bravado that they got access to Chinese government officials that I feel like should be problematic, and the FCC might want to say something about here, but I don't think they will. But how do you get this high level of access to these Chinese officials that are blocking any type of investment you're either receiving from or trying to make in the area? So it makes 100% sense why I'm going to go on this trip. Now, from the Trump standpoint, he gets to walk around and say that, hey, look at all these rich people that come and they just follow me, and I'm the Pied Piper of rich people. Look at all these
Piper
people.
Of rich people is wild.
look at all of them sitting behind me. And so I think it makes sense for them to go. So I think in that standpoint, they both win. But to the point, what came out of this? And essentially, definitely free trip on Air Force One.
Free trip on Air Force One.
I've watched enough documentaries on the Discovery to see Air Force One, and I'm like, oh, I'd take a ride.
Yeah.
Pause.
That was egregious.
Yeah.
Erroneous on all counts.
So one of the things Trump announced that China agreed to buy 200 planes from Boeing, and everyone was cheering. But I was like, hold up. They made that same promise of 300 planes in 2017, and that didn't happen. Soybean purchases, China committed to buy 12 metric tons by the end of 2025, and then 25 million metric tons annually from this year through 2028. And then
American farmers don't get excited.
Right. China granted a 5-year registration extension to 425 U.S. beef plants and approved 77 additional facilities. Bassett acknowledged talks about a framework that could roll back tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods, so about 7% of what we import from China. So, but strangely, also Trump saying the subject of tariffs didn't come up. So, okay, that's interesting.
Or it did, and he just was asleep.
Fair point.
Or ain't no need to bring up tariffs because we're not paying them anyway.
So, and then you have all these tech companies who are trying to position themselves to not be adversarial. So you have NVIDIA with what they do with chips, trying to easily ease around that. You still have the overwhelming tech issue of TikTok and how that deal went down. What does that mean for other companies coming out of China moving forward? So the whole supply chain on AI, again, great opportunity to get all these people in one place to have a talk. Did it produce anything? Nothing that we've seen. Well,
Did we even get concepts of a plan?
I mean, I guess we got concepts of thoughts of what could be in a potential plan one day, maybe.
That's a long sentence, man.
Possibly. Asterisk, see reference below. Like
Conditionally stating.
Right. That we're thinking about it. But we didn't get anything. We didn't get anything. And even what was funny is leading up to this is that so much talk about, hey, there are going to be all these breakthroughs and we're really about to move the needle. It's a new day for relationships. There is nothing at this point at the recording of this podcast that would tell us or tell me, I'll speak for myself, that would tell me.
No, you can speak for us.
That would tell us something significantly that benefited the American public as a whole got done for us outside of a trip to China.
So,
and the waste of your tax dollars.
Amen, brother. Because what this looked like to me was the welfare line. That's what this looked like to me. The high price welfare line.
Yep.
You were over there in line to beg.
Yep.
That's what you were doing.
Please, sir, give me your investments.
Please, sir. Do work with my company.
Yep. At a time where I'm so fragile.
To siphon the dollars from your people.
Mm-hmm.
But it means absolutely nothing for the American people, because what these corporations and companies do not do is put back into the American economy to most of these companies have announced layoffs, massive layoffs. Massive. So you're going over here with your hand out
for what? Put it right back in your pocket.
Right back in your pocket. Parading around with Trump. And for him, calling him the Pied Piper of rich folks was very adequate. Very adequate. Because all he's trying to do is, look what I did. Look what I put you before them. It's no different than the guy that's saying, hey, I'm going to have a party. Come through, fellas. I got the girls here. And the ones that come through there, but you wouldn't be seen outside with them.
Well, here's another interesting piece. Like, you know what else I don't recall seeing anything on? The whole fentanyl thing.
Bruh.
Like, because that was a key thing with our beef with China. And I would have thought if things had actually gotten better or improved.
Stop. You just use a word that begins with a T and ends with a T. That does not happen in this administration.
Yep,
does not.
But I would figure even from the China side, like if there was any movement, I feel as though that people would have talked about that. And I don't recall hearing anything about that as well.
Why do I need to address something that I know that I am not the catalyst to a problem? You just giving propaganda to your people.
Right.
You talk all you want. Like I said with the tariffs. Why does China need to even make a fuss about it when they're not paying it?
Yep.
That cost is handed down to the ones in America that they're doing business with, that then hand that down to the consumer.
Yep.
We made our fuss on here.
You mean that extra $1,500 to $1,700 a year that the tax foundation is saying the average American pays because of these tariffs? That thing right there?
Yep. That thing right there. That thing right there. So, and you mentioned the Boeing deal. No specifics were given. Very little detail.
Concepts.
When you
concepts, G's.
Yeah. When you set a deal in place and you want to lock something in, you provide some context, some substance of what this is going to look like.
Yeah.
The soybean deal. What specifics did you give? You gave a time frame.
Well, they identified.
But anybody can give a time. Anybody can give a time frame.
They identified the commodity soybeans. We're talking about
because they have been buying soybeans from us heavily. Like they were the number one purchaser of soybeans from U.S. farmers, and that's part of the thing that hurt. One of the many things, that hurt American farmers, but has hurt them.
For you having a president who claims to be the champion of American first, I would think for the American farmer, this would be a slap in the face because the damage to most of them has already been done.
It's already done.
And with China saying that they're going to do this by X date, I got to believe a vast amount of those
might not even be around.
Have already sold land, lost land, generationally have gotten out of the farming industry because of what has already taken place. The blow has already been done. You know, you can certainly make it worse, but you've already punched me and knocked me down in the mouth, and I may be able to get back up. It's kind of like that fight night where you trying to get side to side. You trying to get them two to line up so you can get up, and you're at about 7. You had a 7 and 8 count right now. So with China saying this, Trump, you got to be careful because you've already made, and I think we talked about it on the previous episode. You've already made some promises and made these concerns to these farmers as if you're doing something to help. This might be the last straw, brother.
Right. I think
go ahead, man.
I think the other thing that's interesting, linked directly to the farmers, is having Brian Sykes from Cargill there, big in rare earth metals. Rare earth minerals in terms of fertilizers and other industrial agriculture kind of pieces. Like, you got them there because we've been locked out of China's rare earth minerals. We heard nothing about any advancements in that space.
Because it ain't none.
Because we got Venezuela.
Sorry, I forgot. I forgot. That's all.
They're gonna give us everything, and we're gonna sell it at a premium, and we'll split the profits. 70-30 with them, whatever.
See,
I knew there was something to mine, and then I get the lesser percentage.
Listen,
it's like the parties we used to throw in college, where the clubs wanted to take 85%. I'm like, hold on, wait a second.
But to something that Jeezy said earlier, and I had to go and verify because I thought I saw the report on it. America first. And the slap in the face to the farmers. Trump was also questioned about China and their purchasing of U.S. farmland and land in the U.S. And for him to be America first, he said, I agree with it. Right. There are people who don't agree with me, but I agree with it. I don't see the problem in it.
Sir.
From a national security perspective,
above all
the map
above all
the map of the Chinese owned farmland in the U.S. near military bases is wild.
It's wild, bro. Super wild. Not to mention the purchase, and I had a problem with this because the bacon don't taste the same ever since they purchased it with Smithfield packing. I say Smithfield, whatever. The port. Yeah, they bought that business. I don't know what it did with them pigs, but that bacon don't hit the same.
It don't.
It just don't hit the same. But yeah,
shame,
so
bro.
how can you be America first and looking out for our farmers, and you're providing an insane amount of access to U.S. land? And Manny made a great point to emphasize near military installations. You opening the door.
350,000 acres. That's how much China owns.
That's nuts.
And you got the American president saying, I don't see nothing wrong with it.
And you put a ban on their cell phones, their cell phone brand Xiaomi, from selling in the U.S. because you were worried about information and spying through these phones. You forced a sale of TikTok to a U.S. company because you were worried about the surveillance and the geolocation data being received by this service. And although Oracle is doing the same thing, but we ain't gonna talk about that.
Well, it wasn't the ability they had issue with; is who had access to the data.
No. I'm not talking about the ability. I'm talking about the access to that they have.
Yes.
When I say the geolocation data, you got it. You got this information. Oracle has the same information.
Yep. Doing
some of the same things that they were worried about China was doing. That's why I don't have TikTok anymore. But here, hey, go buy 350,000 acres of land to put whatever you want to put on it to spy, however you want to spy. And We got a chain of balloons floating across the sky, all across the U.S.
that we never knew what that was going. We never got to the bottom of that. But hey, China said, "Hey, listen, you can take the cell phones, you can take TikTok, but I tell you this, there's more than one way to skin a cat. We gonna get it by any means necessary." And you got the president saying, "Oh yeah, I don't see nothing wrong with this at all." Wow, bro. Well, I think that when you really look at all this and sum it up, I think China wants definitely in this summit to seem like America's equal. One of the most important themes that she appeared to frame China is not as a rising power. He does not want that to be the framework of what China is. But he's asking for respect because as a power that has already seen itself as America's equal is what he sees China as. So it's quoted a Trump advisor saying that Xi's message was essentially China is not rising anymore, which I think that we could tell by how China has looked over the past few months and past year that China is saying that they're here. We're here at the stage. We're here at the big stage, and Taiwan is a part of its core claim, and that changes the tone. This is not just a trade meeting. This was a global power meeting, and I think that she was very adamant in making sure that China looked to be that arriving threat, that arriving star, not this rising power. So when we look at this, did this summit show America is still setting the rules globally, or did it show that China now believes that it gets equal say in the rules on the playing field as America?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The U.S. is not setting the rules. Absolutely not. And there's no further example of that than the conversation about nuclear arms control.
Yep.
So there was a pact between the U.S. and China in regards to the amount of nuclear weapons that China would have on hand in their arsenal. Well, that expired. And the U.S. came on board and was like, "Hey guys, let's talk about this again." And Xi and company was like, "Nah, until we get our arsenal up to what you and Russia have, ain't nothing to talk about." And that's to your point about them wanting to be seen as, viewing themselves as, and presenting themselves as an equal. Because when it comes down to it, I think the previous reported numbers are they had somewhere upwards of 600 nuclear warheads in the U.S. and Russia, somewhere in combination of over 5,000. China wants to be in that number. As the good folks say, I want to be in that number when the Lord come calling. And so Trump, in Trump fashion, said it was very positive response when it was brought up. No, it ain't no positive response if he told you no.
Bruh. Maybe he wasn't aggressive in his no. Maybe it was a soft no.
You know what, man? Let's not. It was no. Regardless of how you dress it up, it was no. And, and China's like, hey, if we do a pact, it will be the U.S., China, and Russia. Because once we get where we want to be, I think I saw a report that they're pushing to have equal to or not far off the nuclear arsenal as the U.S. and Russia by 2035.
Yep.
This pact is expired. I'm not obligated to keep my word to you to not build my arsenal. And since I don't have to keep my word to you, when I get my arsenal up, then we can talk again. Then we can talk again. And if you're not talking how I want to talk, and I think that's where this relationship is in great jeopardy, depending on how you step this line with Taiwan.
Yep.
So,
if you look in comparison, and I agree with everything you say, Chuck, if you look in comparison to what the U.S. got, what does Xi get out of it? He definitely has the optics.
Yep.
You know,
yes.
These, from internal media reporting in China, these meetings ran far longer than they were scheduled to. So very much he got that visual, that the propaganda shoots of the U.S. and China are being on equal footing. He got leverage on the whole Taiwan situation with the U.S. publicly saying that America does not support Taiwan independence on Chinese state TV. What are you going to do with that?
What does it say? Your silence speaks volumes.
Yep.
When you don't make a definitive statement in that regard, it speaks volumes.
Yes, sir.
They now have now it appears, it looks like China has some level of leverage over that arms deal to Taiwan. China looks like it's potentially going to get access to these H200 processing chips that they've been trying to get for a while, but have been locked out because of how the U.S. has sanctioned exports. And then there's talk about Xi proposing a 3-year operating framework between the U.S. and China that would essentially kind of tie the hands of whoever comes after Trump if they want to change anything. So you see China now thinking that long-term game. How do I lock this relationship up for the long term, no matter who sits in 1600 Pennsylvania? So I think at the heart of it, Beijing is trying to capitalize off of how transactional Trump is. And when you have someone who's thinking transactionally, not necessarily long term, you're going to make bad deals in the long term that in the U.S. case are bad in the short term and even worse in the long term.
Man, I asked on Instagram and slightly abbreviated. If you only operating transactionally, does that make you the prostitute?
Hold on.
Message.
I'm just saying, man. It's nasty work.
Well, I mean, I've never bought one before, but Trump definitely gave the vibe that he moved like a prostitute.
Or at least an escort.
At least an escort, yeah.
At least, minimum.
Well, I think, man, the cleanest way to summarize Trump's China trip is this. No disaster, no grand bargain, but a lot of warning signs. She got stability.
All the dashboard lights are on.
Right. Check engine light, oil light. Even the hazards on.
Tire pressure low.
Yep. Hazard lights on, but I didn't cut them on. The whole thing is lit up. But, she got stability. Trump got ceremony. Taiwan got nervous. Iran stayed complicated. And the world got another reminder that the U.S. and the China competition is not just about tariffs. It's about who gets to shape, in my opinion, the next decade. So now the question is whether this was diplomacy that bought time or diplomacy that gave China exactly the time that they wanted. We'll find out the next episode of Dragon Ball Z.
Big fan.
Brothers, any more thoughts? Any more thoughts on Trump's China trip?
No.
I'm all cried out over you.
To our listeners, that is our coverage of our segment of the Trump-China trip. President Trump is back home, and I don't know if you guys have seen the recent report, but it was announced this past Saturday after Trump had left by the Kremlin that Vladimir will be coming to town.
He's coming
this
through
week.
next week.
Oh.
So, your old boy left.
Well, real quick, and I meant to bring this up earlier, not to revisit or rehash Trump in China, but that was the first time a U.S. president had been there in the past 9 years, and I guess since Trump's first administration. So that was very interesting as well.
In a minute, yeah. Well, we did have the whole pandemic, and it was kind of.
I mean.
No, they could if they wanted to make it happen. They could have made it happen.
They could have made it happen, yes, for sure.
All right.
Vladimir coming here is very interesting.
The timing.
Yeah.
I mean, they ain't even got. They probably still working to get the scent out the room. And
Stop.
What kind of scent is it?
hey, one that only babies produce. And apparently the elderly.
I don't think babies smell like that.
Bruh, what kind of bed they had Trump laying in? What kind of Airbnb they had for Trump when he was up in Beijing, bro?
He was at the Four Seasons.
Bruh.
It was looking at some of these chairs they had him in. He was so uncomfortable.
Hey.
Oh man.
But
Don't say we ain't in Kansas anymore.
But you know what? That's one of the things that China is known for doing is setting up these little like psychological
visual games.
Yep.
Playing games with you. And we sent the biggest fool over there. Like my grandma would say, got played like a fiddle.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all really elected this man in office again.
Bruh, I'll never forgive y'all.
Ever.
As Drake said on Iceman, can I forgive? I won't. Well, that is our coverage of Trump in China. We will see what comes out of the meeting that will be happening this week with Russia's President Vladimir Putin coming to town, and what things may change. And I'd be interested to see how Trump reacts. Because, it's one thing that, I just left from over there and now somebody else over there. I want to know what was said. I want to know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you tell me that you told him?
And, well, he didn't even do the Xi. He tried to, the little handshake move. He didn't even dare try that with Vladimir.
Nah. But I'm be honest, standing beside Trump, I didn't know she was that, that big, Paul.
Yeah, he's much taller than I thought he was. Vladimir's a little guy. Vladimir's a little guy, but Vladimir got that forearm on. He got that strength. that KGB strength. That KGB. Trump ain't seen nothing like that. Hey, don't let the size fool you though. He might be a short guy. I ain't killer, but don't push me.
But we'll see how Trump responds because he don't like nobody circling around and getting the upper hand on him. So I got to think he's gonna have some comment. Somebody gonna ask him what he thinks.
Somebody
gonna
say something,
and we know he might call somebody stupid and get upset. You don't know. So with Trump, we'll find out what happens this coming week. But we'll switch to our next segment of the podcast. And folks, we had the end of an era.
It's so hard to say goodbye to Jerome Powell.
The end of an era has come in American economics. After, I believe it was 8 years?
Yeah.
8 years. As chair of the Federal Reserve, our brother, the Honorable Jerome Powell. One of the only few white men I know named Jerome. He's done. And whether you love him,
you said few, like you know multiple, at least one other.
I was about to say
white person named Jerome.
Well, I might not know one named Jerome, but I've seen a couple that have some very colorful names. That's a very colorful. I know a white man named Daryl. Daryl to me ain't a white man name.
I was about to say something, but yeah, I know a white man named Daryl too.
Is Jerome the equivalent of like Rusty in white names?
If a black man was named Rusty, I would be shocked by that too.
Okay.
Yep.
Rusty.
I can see it.
But I know at least 3 Rusties.
Look,
that's white.
And they got to be white, bro.
Yeah, they white.
Bro, Jerome, the Honorable Jerome Powell's done, man. And whether you loved him, whether you hated him, almost every American was felt by his impact on his impact on his decision. So from mortgage rates to car loans to credit card interest to inflation at the grocery store to job growth, even whether businesses hired or laid people off, Powell's fingerprint is all over it. So the biggest thing behind this is, did Jerome Powell save the economy or create a mess he spent years trying to fix? And we're gonna, through this segment, gonna break this down. But the first thing I want to know, I want to talk about is, who is Jerome Powell, and why should people care? Because you may say, as a regular American, say, I don't even know who Jerome is, which you should, because if you hear a white man named Jerome Powell, that should spark your interest off gate.
Like, what?
You should want to know what kind of type of man this is. And just, I believe we broke it on the previous episode, he is the only one out of his siblings with a name like Jerome. Everyone else has a regular white name. Jerome is the only one of his mother's kids named Jerome. So she must saw something in him and knew that he was destined for such a name as this. But first, I want to explain why this matters, because a lot of people hear the Federal Reserve Chair and instantly tune out. I think that's a lot of Americans. But the Fed Chair may quietly be one of the most powerful people in America. You know, they control the U.S. monetary policy, and Jerome became Federal Chair in 2018. And was appointed by Trump, which I think is big for people to know, because he has been criticized so much.
Yes.
And you've even had this fool Trump blame Obama and Biden
for Jerome.
But we literally seen Trump announce his appointment on the Rose Garden where he picked Jerome.
Yep.
But for some reason, he's forgotten that. But unlike politicians, the Fed is supposed to operate independently from the White House. Now, if you're new to politics, or if you're just so far one-sided, you just don't understand how things work, don't let Trump fool you. The Fed Chair is supposed to operate independently. No matter how much Trump tries to say that it shouldn't, no matter how much he tries to pressure or force, the Fed is independent and should be independent for a reason, because their biggest is that they're raising interest rates to slow inflation, they're lowering rates to stimulate the economy, and they're managing the money supply and financial stability. You don't want the person, I think that we all can agree, if we all come together in the classroom, that you want the person doing that independent. Shouldn't be influenced by anybody. They should just be doing their actual job. So why, under Powell, we've seen a couple of things, and we're going to talk about it. Mortgage rates exploded from around 3% during COVID to over 7% at a peak tightening. Credit card interest rates hit record highs. Car loans became drastically more expensive. Inflation spiked to 9.1% in 2022, which was the highest in roughly 40 years. But unemployment stayed surprisingly low during most of the crisis. So a question I want to ask, and I'll go to you first, Chuck, is, do you think most Americans even realize how much power the Federal Chair actually has over their everyday life?
I was about to be real cynical and say most Americans don't know what the Federal Reserve is.
Yes.
They have no idea the functioning aspect of the Federal Reserve. Most Americans can't tell you what the Fed prime rate is,
Right.
and what significance it holds. So, no.
Or where it's located?
Like, no, absolutely no. The simple
answer.
Bro, I had a young man tell me he didn't know what the state abbreviations were. So,
oh my God.
So,
like any of them, or like just one in particular?
Or most of them.
I rattled off five, and like five easy ones.
Like Texas.
He didn't know what VA was.
Right.
He didn't know what Alabama's.
What about New York?
Abbreviation was.
Did he know the abbreviation of where he lived?
He lives in Georgia. And he didn't know Alabama.
Bro, that's...
Ooh, man.
So...
the lack of knowledge.
Yeah. So to think the average American knowing what who the Fed Chair is, the functionality and the responsibilities of the Fed Chair, or the Federal Reserve Bank knowing what they are, they barely know how to manage their account at their regular bank. Right. So and I say that in a just
it's a reality of the situation,
way, but it's sad because
it is a reality.
I spent over 10 years in the banking sector. and I saw individuals from 40s, 50s, 60s to youngins, teenagers into their early 20s who struggled in the functionality of the banking system.
Yeah.
So, although I say this in jest, I understand the severity and the sadness in this. And I actually took pride in educating and helping people in understanding the bare necessities of banking. So, and we can blame many aspects because honestly, for me growing up, that wasn't a part of the conversation in my household. It was not a full, excuse me, it was not a full context of understanding because my people didn't have a full understanding. I got to gain this understanding through the years of engagement, action, and then employment. But you put a checkbook. I had individuals in their 50s who couldn't write a check, didn't know the proper way to write a check.
Yeah.
You tell someone who is 23 right now to write you a check, and they were like, "What's a check? Bro. You want me a Nike check?" Like, so there is a significant gap in understanding and information that is not being provided, nor is it being sought out. Because sometimes I don't know what to seek and understand, and I haven't even been exposed to it.
Yeah.
Right. So man.
The statement always goes, if you knew better, you do better. But then there's a level of that people actually just don't know, so can't do better.
They don't know. I tell my kids all the time, I never fuss at you and upset with you about things you don't know.
Right.
I'm upset about what I know you know better than to do.
Yep. You're 100% right. And I bring up that only to drive home to our listeners the importance and the disconnect is not just this topic. But we'll keep moving on it. But there's a multitude of things that impact you in your everyday life. And there is a vast majority of Americans who do not have even a elementary or beginning level understanding of these things. So in this segment, if you're one of those listeners, we're certainly not here criticizing you, but what we are doing is shining a light to say, hey, if you don't know who Jerome is, what the federal chair does, what the Federal Reserve is,
now's your opportunity.
Educate yourself. And here's your opportunity, and the information is there. And if not, you can reach out to our local our residential financial advisor here, Brother Chuck, who's already said his years of learning and being employed and engaging in the industry that he can certainly give you some knowledge. And I believe, and I hope this ain't a bad plug, but I believe that he has had episodes as well on his podcast Encompass where he talks about some of these things. So you better get some of that wisdom before it's no longer free.
Sign up for my Patreon.
Yes, sir. But moving on with Jerome, I want to talk about one of the biggest tests that he had. Jerome's defining moment, I believe, started in 2020 when the COVID pandemic basically froze the economy overnight. And businesses started shutting down. Roughly 20 million Americans lost jobs early in the pandemic. The markets were collapsing. And there was a great sense of fear of another Great Depression that was on the way. In Jerome's response, the Fed slashed interest rates nearly to zero. They pumped trillions into the financial markets. They bought government bonds aggressively, which is another act that the Federal Reserve does. And they flooded the economy with liquidity. So while this matters, that at the time, many economists, they praised Powell for what he did. And the economy recovered faster than expected, and markets stabilized fairly quickly. And massive layoffs reversed faster than they did even compared to the 2008 recession. But here's the twist. Critics argued that the Fed left rates too low for too long, that too much money entered the economy, and that helped fuel the inflation and explosion later. So, Manny, I want to ask you this question. So, with this debate, did Powell save America from a economic collapse, or did the Fed overreact and accidentally create a inflation crisis?
Well, I'll start off with saying I'm not an expert in macroeconomics, but I'll speak what I know. And what I do know is two things can be right at the same time. Mm-hmm. You know, were we heading the wrong way real fast? Yeah. Now, do we have the benefit of hindsight and the ability to write dissertations and think pieces about what would have been better to do years after it happened? Absolutely. You know, if you look at what he did, I believe the number, Chuck, and correct me if I'm wrong here or too off base, about 40% of the dollars that are in circulation in the entire global economy were created under Powell's leadership.
Yes, I think that number is relatively accurate.
A lot of injection of liquidity, a lot of chopping of the value of the dollar in doing that. But did it save a lot of jobs? Yeah. Could you have acted faster? I think the answer to that is yes. But one of the things I think happens with Powell that I feel as though is not completely fair is not only while you had the reactionary response of inflationary pressures of creating all this money, simultaneously, you also had companies looking for an opportunity to push their lines up and to the right.
Yeah.
So are we able to separate inflation just because of companies versus just the macroeconomic? We can't really separate those two from each other because we don't really know what actually happened.
Yeah.
But could he have acted sooner? Yeah. Did he act fast enough? I mean, maybe not. Is, in those last terms, post inflation, are rates still too high now? It depends on who you're asking. Love it or hate it, you look at the stock market, we haven't had a significant crash, even like a really significant correction, I would say, since
we need it.
Since the Great Recession. So things have been continuously going up and to the right, this entire standpoint. So he's done a lot, and I think it is very easy to look and judge, but I think it's also important to remember he didn't make these decisions alone. Like when Trump comes out and says, "Oh, Jerome left it, too high," he's just the president of the group. He's got to vote just like every other governor that sits on that board. And I believe in most cases, a lot of these decisions are dang near close to unanimous.
Yep.
Now, he leads the body. There is dissent on the body. There is conversations in the body, but he's not doing this alone. There are many other of the brightest minds in economics on this board helping guide this ship. And I think that's where Trump is probably getting ready to learn a rough lesson. Like, yeah, you may have gotten the Fed chair that you want, but what do you say? I say that as if he didn't appoint Jerome. You might get the person that you want in that seat, but that doesn't mean they can rule with an iron fist. And I think that's one of the many downsides of Trump and how he operates. Our institutions are not corporate entities. The CEOs does not wield unyielding power where people just say, "Hey, do this and go." So I think it's a complicated look. Like, yes, we're going to be tearing apart what he did for years. Because guess what? We did the same exact thing with Obama and everything that came with how we rescued the country during the Great Recession.
Yep.
Were all the decisions that were made in that period, were they the correct decisions? Probably not. Did it get worse? Would it have gotten worse if we didn't act soon enough? Yeah, it would have. So I think it's balanced.
Okay. Brother Chuck?
I have very little to rebut what my good brother said. I just want to add to the fact the U.S. I'll say survived the pandemic economically a lot better than most of the world.
Yeah, man, let me tell you.
And when you truly look at the actions of our Federal Reserve and the steps they took to try to counterbalance what was going on in the world in the shutdown, we fared a lot better than many countries. I'm talking the Chinas, the France, the Spain, like Russia, all of them. We fared much better. And that was a very interesting point during the 24 election cycle, where many people tried to ridicule Joe Biden and saying that he put us in a tough place. But economically, if we did a compare and contrast to the world, man, you would grade them quite stellar. and this is no support or championing Joe Biden, just saying of the actions of the Federal Reserve. Yeah. Now, to Manny's point about the amount of money that's pumped into the system, I want the listeners to understand those stimulus checks that you got
weren't free.
That's part of that process. And it baffles me because the first one to push the issue of a stimulus check is the guy now that's ridiculing
Donnie T himself. If I'm not mistaken, he was trying to hold the checks up just so he can have his name on it.
So it humors me a lot because that was one of the driving factors that pushed inflation up. Yep. Now, one thing that it did do, and it helped these companies when they cut interest rates so low, almost zero, it allowed companies to refinance their debt, saving them money on that debt on that end. And let's do a little educational moment of fixed interest and variable interest.
Yep.
When you have debt, let's look at your credit card. Your credit card is a variable interest rate. Your car payment is a fixed interest rate. So there is very little.
We hope. If you have a variable interest rate on your car, I need you to go address that immediately.
Immediately. Please. Pretty please. Your interest rate should not move with your car payment.
This is not financial advice. Sorry for our
This
lawyers.
is education. This is education. No, this is education. This is strictly education. So in a fixed interest rate, your payment, as long as you're paying on time and no late fees, no return payment fees, should be the same up until you get toward the end when it starts shrinking because you've paid more into your interest. Your variable interest rate, your payment can be different from month to month. If you kept the same balance, which I hope you do not when you're making your payments, but if you have the same balance on a variable interest rate, if the Federal Reserve raises interest rates, guess what? Your payment is going to go up. But if they lower interest rates, your payment could go down because the amount of interest that you're charged on this. So these companies love, and this is part of the reason why Donald Trump wants to push interest rates lower so they can refinance their debt, make lower payments, save more money. Now, one thing that was interesting to me about Jerome, and I salute him because he was in a period of time that had not been seen in the U.S. for eons, since the Spanish flu days, as far as the pandemic. Now, from an economic standpoint, like Manny said, he saved us from another Great Recession, but some of us worried we would hit Great Depression levels with the way things had got shut down. But what was interesting to me is he does not have an economic background.
Nope.
He's a lawyer.
Yep.
So that was very interesting to me in putting him in this position where his predecessors, one that I know right off the top of my head, Ben Bernanke, and I just remember him because I remember I loved his name. I'm weird, don't mind me, but him and I want to say, was it Jen? Whoever was after him, they had PhDs in economics. So, the depth of their economic background was very extensive. But to not sell Jerome short, he was very staunch on transparency.
Yeah.
He wanted to make it known and clear what was going on with the Federal Reserve and the intentions and the actions taken and the moves that they were making. He wanted it to be very clear. He wanted to be very transparent with this information. So those are just a couple points that I want to point out because like my brother Manny covered it in a stellar fashion. The term that Jeezy made mention of that he was ridiculed for in taking too long. In 2021, he stated that the inflation surge was transitory, and in that many critique that he moved too slow. But when you're dealing in a space that is of historic proportions, sometimes you need to move slow and not be haste to act and get a strong understanding. And then there's some critique of him, although you have some that support it and then some that critique it, the rapid interest rate hikes. And it led to the downfall and collapse of a couple of high-profile banks. For those who may remember, Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank in early 2023. Some of them attributed these rate hikes because what happened is these highfalutin individuals with these large amounts of money in here and large amounts of debt, you throw these rates up, and now they're running to get their money. And another educational moment, just because your account says it's $2.3 million in your account,
don't mean you can go withdraw that all at once.
You're not going to most financial institutions to pull out $2.3 million in one sitting. Sorry.
And Silicon was just dumb for just having all their eggs in one basket anyway.
And there's a lot to blame them for.
So Jerome might not want to be the thing. What they say, for the one finger you point, it might be 3 pointing back at you.
Come back.
Facts. Silicon had a lot of issues.
Had a lot going on
with their own self. But from that standpoint, and I remember my days of people coming in wanting to do a $500,000 withdrawal. And I'm like, what? This is not one of the banks in the movies where we just got a vault
just a
in the
duffel bag
and you got money sitting around waiting for you to. No, there are certain guidelines of how much we must have on hand to service, customers coming in on a day-to-day basis. But nobody's sitting around. One, that's too much of a risk.
Mm-hmm.
Way too much.
Just like in the movies, you see them coming in to rob the place and come through the roof and come in with army guns and they 5-6 deep. No, they stay out the movies. But as we review Jerome's time as Fed chair, I salute him for early on embracing the adversity. 2019, 2020, 2021 was a very interesting time in our lives in the country. And to be in a position where you are the face of the group that makes the call that can teeter things going good, things going bad. Quite honestly, they can impact the workforce. Because if a company is carrying too much debt, and now interest rates have gone up. And guess what the first cost cutting measures are?
Oh, you already know.
It's the highest cost of any organization.
About to empty out some of these seats.
Exactly. So, in that, in being in a hopefully it's a once in a lifetime.
Generation.
We don't know about this hanty, but once in a lifetime situation, and in the generational decision making process, the type of pressure that is on anybody to be the face of it. And then as you continue on, you have a president that's throwing shots at you and wanting to ridicule you and provide legal action against you as if you've done something wrong because you stood on principle. Salute, man. Salute.
Well, you spoke about something that I was going to bring up, but I'm glad that you did. The single word that critics seem to use to define Powell's legacy is that transitory. Which transitory by definition is temporary, fleeting, or not permanent. In 2021, he said that he believed that inflation was transitory and that things were going to recover, and inflation kept climbing. And I believe, like we said before, by June 2022, inflation had hit 9.1%. So again, the criticism came of him reacting too slowly, that he was undermining how inflation was coming, and that the Fed was waiting too long on raising rates. And once he realized that inflation was not temporary or transitory, he launched the fastest rate hikes that you mentioned, Chuck. Interest rates jumped aggressively between 22 and 24. And basically the Feds essentially slammed the brakes on the economy. But you've already answered this, but can one mistake, or you could put that mistake kind of with an asterisk, erase one's years of good leadership, or do we judge Powell by the recovery afterwards? And I think that when you look at that, we were in uncharted territory, to an extent. And I'm glad you brought up the point of Jerome just being a lawyer and taking his leadership role, because he does not have an economic background. But to see the level of leadership, and when you look from a macro perspective at the world, at going through the pandemic, regardless of your criticism of Powell, I think we all can say we're glad that we were in America
Yeah.
during that time than anywhere else in the world, because
That's a fact.
you could say that there are still some people that are still living and suffering from the ramifications of what COVID did, and the toll that it took on some of these countries globally as far as their economy. So did he move fast enough? You could argue that he did or didn't, but I think we all can agree, in an uncharted territory, do you want to just be driving, flying blind 100 miles an hour and crash into a mountain or fall off a cliff? Or do you want to take your time? And though we may have gotten there a little slower, we got there safe.
You make the best decisions with the information you have in front of you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that when you look at this, there's something that that economists throw around, a term called a soft landing. Mm-hmm. And, when the Fed raises the rates aggressively, recessions usually follow. Yeah. But when we look under Powell, inflation cooled significantly. The economy avoided a massive recession, and albeit the unemployment stayed relatively stable. So economists call this a soft landing, meaning that inflation comes down without destroying the job markets, which he didn't do. So even now, inflation remains above the Fed's 2% market. April inflation reportedly climbed back to 3.8, but it's far below the 2022 peak. So Manny, I'm gonna ask you this. Do you give Powell credit for avoiding a recession, or are Americans still feeling too much pain financially for us to call it a success?
It depends. Like, are obviously Americans feeling the pain and the pinch of all of this? Absolutely, 100%. But it goes back to what I had said before. as we were dealing with all the inflation, how much of that was because of true money supply, and how much of that is because companies were trying to force their graphs to go up to the right? Yeah. I went to McDonald's this past weekend and got chicken nuggets.
I was about to say, I hope you didn't get a fillet of fish.
We might be having different conversations. Y'all might be having a different conversation.
If you ever see what it looked like before it hit that grease, and when it come out, is either witchcraft, magic, or something. But it ain't of God.
They say the same thing about the chicken nuggets and how they made. So
yeah,
or a hot dog. Oh well,
bruh.
Throw it on the grill.
But that thing was like $10. I remember growing up that you could go get 20 nuggets for $5.
Facts.
Yeah, that's true.
So how much were we able to navigate the economic impact of all this because of how much non-economic reasons prices increased? Yeah, I think that these companies built up a level of resistance. And again, being able to refinance all of that debt before rates started getting hiked, I think put U.S. companies in a position where they were able to lower their cost enough to be able to navigate a recession or a recessionary environment like that we were seeing a little bit better. But again, we're going to be dissecting the decisions that Jerome Powell made. For dissertations are being written now and will be written for decades about what he could have done better. But you know what? The Fed had, in some cases, how many emergency meetings were there to cut interest rates? Like they were making decisions they were going day by day.
Yeah.
Best information that they had available. I don't believe that anything that Jerome or the rest of the governors did was out of malice or they purposely made a decision wrong. But I think if you have 2 months to think about a decision before making it, there's a chance that you're going to make a different decision than you would if you only had 48 hours to think about it.
Yeah, I certainly agree. And I think another aspect of his tenure that we talked about, but I think it's something that is uncommon for the Fed chair in previous tenures, is that his tenure wasn't just about economics at all. His tenure became deeply political, which I think that another nod to Jerome is that he's probably one of the few, if not the only Fed chair that has so much political pressure on his back to do the bidding of someone of a political figure. And Trump repeatedly, as we talked about, has repeatedly attacked Powell. He's mocked him as being too late. He's pushed him to lower interest rates, and Powell has resisted the pressure and, to my opinion, like a champion, has defended the Fed's independence. Brother Jerome has even gone and been investigated by the DOJ for Fed renovations. Well, we saw Trump come and pull that that white paper that somebody scribbled on and gave him some fake numbers, and then and we ain't gonna get on how you sitting here talking to him about renovations, but you just double the size of a ballroom and then get mad when people say, well, if you doubled it, then that mean you doubled the cost, and when somebody asks you that, you say they stupid. We ain't even gonna get into that. But he's had threats surrounding his future and even pressure campaigns against the Fed. I mean, I would say that no Fed chair has probably had to deal with that amount of political pressure holding that seat. So, the Fed is designed, as we said before, to be independent. So politicians cannot manipulate interest rates for political gain. Because I think that we can all agree that's exactly what Trump's trying to do.
Oh, for sure.
So,
for sure.
When things don't look good, where can I point at to get things to move the needle a little bit more in my favor? And certainly Jerome has been at the center of that attack for Trump. So when we look at this, if presidents can pressure the Fed politically, is the entire economic system now at risk?
Yes. Next question.
There's no dialogue. There's no
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Keep it
I love
moving.
it. I love
Next
it.
question.
And I'm glad you got I agree with you wholeheartedly, but I think that's important to point out because now that Brother Jerome, thy good and faithful servant, has finished his term, his tenure, there's a new chair, right? We have another future ahead of us with Kevin Warsh.
Go retch around and wrench it off and wash yourself.
But we got a new one. We got a new Fed chair that has been confirmed and will be shortly sworn in as the next Fed chair. And he is expected to bring some major changes. And he's been one that has been vocal, while not maybe entirely about what Jerome Powell has done. He certainly criticized parts of Powell's approach. And he has already said that he wants less Fed communication and possibly and potentially less transparency, which is going to be a very different future because I believe Manny was the one that stated it already that, and Brother Chuck has said it as well, that, Jerome was very transparent in his approach. Even down if you've ever watched one of his, press conferences, when he makes a decision, he's very knowledgeable on why the decision was made and letting the American people know this is why we're doing what we're doing. I'm not doing it because, of any other reason by looking at the metric, looking at the numbers and saying this is the best thing for the economy. And we've seen that happen. So to see the future of someone who will take the seat, who wants less communication and less transparency will definitely be a different era than what we have experienced. But Walsh is taking over during elevated inflation. There's some global instability. You have the concerns with oil with the Iran relation.
Some.
The whole country is shaking.
Right.
The whole world is shaking on its axis.
And even still, with him taking this seat, there still is political pressure from Trump. So Trump is, he's going to want his boy to do what he wants him to do.
Yep.
So, but Powell's not disappearing immediately. I believe, Manny, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's going to hold a seat on the board, if I'm not mistaken, going forward, correct?
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
So he'll still be around. So we kind of got a two-pope scenario that'll be going on with the Fed chair, with the old Fed leader still in the building, still having some influence, while you have a new Fed chair that will certainly be trying to take control. So do you think Powell staying on the board helps protect the Fed independence, or does it create frustration, confusion, and division inside the Fed during such a very difficult time?
I mean, I hope it...
No, yes. Yes and yes. And yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
The reason I say that, and just to provide some context, Jerome Powell is staying on as one of the Fed's board of governors. So Kevin Warsh, to give some background on him, he's not new to this. He is true to this.
Okay.
He was with the Federal Reserve, I want to say for 5 years, back in 2006 to 2011. So he was around during the Great Recession and the fallout of the bottoming out of the economy and the housing crunch and all that good stuff. But also, as of late, he has been a strong and staunch critic of Jerome Powell. Mm-hmm. He feels that the Federal Reserve has taken on too much debt in regards to some of the things that the Federal Reserve did was buy U.S. bonds. And so Kevin Warsh wants to get rid of this and reduce the balance sheet. I think the numbers that I remember, at one point it was $800 billion in assets that the Federal Reserve balance sheet held at a prior time. That number has ballooned up to $6.7 trillion. Again, this is not all under Jerome. This is throughout the years and over time. But I think at the height, it was like 9 point something trillion. And it has reduced down to 6.7 trillion. And he wants to get that even lower. So he has been a critic of some of the policies under Powell. But when he's coming on board as the Fed chair, when these decisions are made, the board, as we stated earlier, the board of governors collectively come together to vote and make these decisions. And with Jerome Powell being still on as a chair with the governors, he's going to be a part of this decision-making process. And you're going to have some people who may be loyal to him, who revere him, and he can influence their vote. And then there may be some who may not have been a fan of Jerome. Nobody's saying that he was, loved by everybody. We don't know. Yeah. But it's realistically possible that you could have a divided room. And so now, like you said, the two popes, I liken it to my old boss got demoted, my new boss come in, but I really like my old boss, so I'm rocking with my old boss, and it's up and it's stuck again with you. So it's going to be an interesting space to navigate because he just moved his stuff out of the main office and went down the hall to the little smaller office, but he's still around. Like kids, and I can say this because this was a part of my life. You got the new daddy and your daddy. And they both around at the same time. Which one are you calling dad? Hey, daddy. And they both, huh?
At the end of the day, whether he moves out the office, his lunch is still in the break room refrigerator
with his name on it.
Well, and I think that will be that's part of the question there is like for Warsh coming in, we covered it here on the pod. Jerome made sure in the months leading up to this date that he got all of his people extended out a couple years. So people weren't able to be immediately reappointed.
And that's part of why he stayed on. Well, that's also part of why he stayed on. So I meant to say this when I was talking, but because he is occupying one of the chairs of the governorship, it negates the ability of Trump to appoint someone else to that governorship chair that would do his bidding. So in the interest of the independence of this body of the Federal Reserve, he wants to stay on to ensure that this body stayed independent in that fashion.
Well, I think that it'll be very interesting going forward because Jerome's legacy may honestly depend on what happens next. If inflation finally returns to normal and the economy stays stable, history may view him as the man who guided America through impossible crisis. But
Jeezy, real quick.
Yes, sir.
And I meant to say this as well, and Manny brought up this point earlier. We have not had a market correction. And part of the contributing factor to everything that's going on is things have not cycled properly like it's supposed to. These things normally move on a cycle.
Yep.
And I, myself, thought that we would have some kind of correction during that period of COVID and following afterwards.
Yeah.
If you put a bet on Poly Market and Kalshi, and I wanted to place a bet, I would have placed a bet that we would have had a correction, things would have bottomed out, and then we would hit a recession, and then we would come back around and start rising up again.
And all that to happen while we were already down bad. So already time for us to deal with it.
What a time to do it, didn't they?
Right. but nothing has happened in that fashion. We're steady setting record numbers, and it's quite funny that everybody wants to run and tout that. Joe Biden did it. Donald Trump has done it. Record number stock market numbers. But y'all have not had a recession to pull these numbers back up from. You're just running the numbers up from its starting point. You yes, it's factual. These are record numbers. But also, you're not starting from the starting line.
Right.
Yep.
You're running this race and you're already ahead of the starting point. So to him and being transitory, I thought things were going to reset as well. It never happened. I'm waiting for the housing market to crash.
Bro. There got to be a reset sometime.
The question now at this point, if you look at the economy, how long things are going to continue to go up.
Yes, because what goes up
Must come down.
It's gravity. It's the
There's a thing called gravity.
there's some folks out there. Hold on. I'm gonna get mine in today. This is not about economy, and this is actually, I'm gonna deviate just a little bit and kind of lean to my good brother Jeezy space. There are guys out there who are making videos saying that gravity is a farce. But it goes to those who are saying that space is not really space; it's the firmament, and it's really the water upside down. That crowd. Because
The top tier tinfoil hat community.
Yeah,
that's like a Mason. That's a 33-degree tinfoil hat.
That's that thick tinfoil.
Yes, sir.
Heavy duty. But this is a guy that had a video and he was dropping something. He was like, if it was gravity, what did he say? I can't even remember exactly what he said. But I just want to have that moment that there's some folks out there that's really trying to counter the point of gravity. And it's quite funny to me in the regards to what goes up must come down. Yeah.
Hey, don't y'all steal our idea. I think we got to start going with that with our tinfoil. We're going to have to start putting them in degrees like the Mason, bro.
Yes, sir.
Because certain stuff, bro, you got to get to a certain level.
Stuff is outlandish. You got to be at a whole nother level of thinking to even begin
the process of that
fathom
stuff.
it,
bro. But at any rate, we'll see what history says about Jerome, and that depends on what happens next. And either way, one thing is undeniable is that Jerome's time at the Fed reshaped the financial reality of an entire generation of Americans during the pandemic, and what he did in his response certainly can't go unnoticed. But as anyone we see with any tenure, there are things that we look in hindsight, as my brother Manny will say, hindsight is always what? 2020. And we'll look back from the tenure that he had, and we'll make a decision on whether he did the right thing. Did he move too slow? Could he done things better? All things that are very valid questions, but certainly very uncharted territory for a person to handle. And certainly a person who didn't come from a background in economics to handle it and lead us through what he did. Certainly want to give Brother Jerome his flowers, because his decision, whether you call it slow or not, could have certainly changed the trajectory of what life looks like for the American people had he done things differently than what he did. So, Jerome, I know you get beat up, brother. But the pie gonna give you your flowers, man. You held it down as best as you could, and for that, sir, we're gonna say job well done. Now we might come back later on down the road now, and after we see what Kevin Warsh do.
Because the man could get in there and start cooking.
He could get in that kitchen, and he could start working, and we'll see. What? I don't know if I have hope. It depends on how he responds to Trump. That's what I want to see. How does he respond to the pressure from Trump? Because Jerome handled it in some classic fashion that we've had some very key moments of how he has responded to Trump that I have thoroughly enjoyed. I don't know if, and I think that just comes with a man, first of all, named Jerome, and then Jerome's just seasoned, man. He's an older gentleman. I don't believe Kevin Warsh is old. I believe he's a little younger guy.
Yeah.
He might not be able to handle that pressure. He might look at Trump and feel like that's his granddaddy, and what granddaddy told you to do, you do. You don't ask no question. He might look up to his elder and say, hey, my elder told me to do it. I'm just going to say yes, sir, and do it. Jerome said, I don't care what you say.
I got
right is right, wrong is wrong.
Right. Yes, sir. So at the end of the day, we shall see as we go forward. But as always, Jerome, the boys here at the pod, job well done, brother. And I would say take your rest. But you done got your whole nother seat, so you still working.
He said I was supposed to retire, but that can hold on.
Yeah, I'll wait and see what come up in the next 2 years, and we'll see what happens. But that is our coverage of Jerome's tender end of an era, and certainly, sir, we shall see what the next era in the future of the Fed holds. So, anything else from that, brother? Anything else on Brother Jerome?
Good here. Huh?
All right. Well, guys, we at that point of the episode where we have the pickle of the week.
When I get us all into the biggest pickle any of us had ever seen.
Now we got an interesting one that is taking place. We got a C4, what we call it, man, an L5, C4,
L5.
a major spinal break.
Snap, crackle, pop.
Yeah, sometimes you get those pickles where they make it in the jar whole. This one, I think you got in there in pieces. The pickle broke up a little bit. This is the last one in the jar. Then nobody want.
I'm gonna say the malnourished looking pickle.
Mm-hmm.
But our pickle of the week goes to a gentleman down in Louisiana. Shout out to Louisiana. Shout out to y'all.
Louisiana has been in that news circuit the past 2 weeks.
Man, let me tell you, and it is not for the crawfish etouffee.
Oh my God, I can go for some
crawfish,
right now.
That crawfish etouffee. And look, if you ever in New Orleans, go down there to
side
Felix.
of jambalaya.
Go down to Felix and get you some of them char grilled oysters.
Oh Lord,
man.
Oh Lord.
I cannot relate.
Hey, brother, don't worry. I live the story. I live the story and tell it to you. Like Esau's fable. I tell you, brother, you ain't got to worry.
And I'll take your portion.
But I'm gonna tell you,
you
missing
a double
out.
portion, Lord.
You missing out, man.
Yes, sir.
Even the Popeyes down there is different, brother.
No,
I was talking about that earlier today.
Okay, French Quarter, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was talking about that earlier today. How it is different.
Way different. The lady that ring you up call you baby.
Baby. Is that all for you, baby? Oh,
Knew I was different, man. So we love y'all, Louisiana. So this ain't about y'all, but y'all do have an individual down there we got to discuss, and that is Bill Cassidy. Because Bill Cassidy,
not the Sundance Kid.
No. Bill Cassidy didn't just lose a primary. He got politically evicted from his own party's house.
Grab your hat and get your shoes. Good day.
And good day. In the words of Willy Wonka, good day. You get nothing. Grab your hat and your coat. The Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy is our pickle of the week because he finds himself trapped between two impossible lanes. And if you are a Republican, listen up. You ain't got to be in Louisiana. You need to listen up because this may affect you later on down the road too. Those two impossible lanes is that he tried to be conservative enough for Trump's GOP, but his 2021 vote to convict Trump after the January 6th never stopped haunting him.
Of something he was guilty of.
Something he was definitely guilty of. But this week in your primary, sir, it caught up to you. Cassidy in his primary finished third in Louisiana's GOP Senate primary with about 25% of the vote. Now, Trump backed Representative Julia Letlow, which led the primary with 45%. And then the state treasurer, John Fleming, came in with 28%, sending Letlow and Fleming into a runoff that will happen on June the 27th. But the reason why he's the pickle is because Cassidy tried to thread the needle. And I'm going to tell you this, sir. I don't know if you've ever sewn anything a day in your life, but my grandma used to always get us to sew our buttons back on our dress shirts when they fell off. It ain't that easy to thread a needle, brother. It ain't that easy. His campaign as a conservative supporter of border patrol, border security, he opposed abortion. He tied himself to parts of Trump's agenda, and he even helped advance RFK Bobby nomination after he grilled him of how he was unqualified. But for a lot of Trump-aligned voters, none of that erased that impeachment vote. And Trump made sure the voters remembered it. He backed Letlow, called Cassidy, a word that we've discussed, disloyal. And he even celebrated the results after Cassidy lost. But in all of that, I think that there's a deeper point to making this. This is bigger than Bill Cassidy. You're the pickle, but there's a bigger thing here. This is a warning shot to every Republican that thinks they can oppose Trump on one major issue and then make it up later by voting with him. Don't work. Cassidy's record didn't save him. To a point that Manny's made on this podcast before, his incumbency
didn't save him.
Did not save him. What did Kendrick say? you follow LeBron, but he is not your savior. You listen to Kodak Black, but he is not your savior.
Not your savior.
You tried to follow your moral compass, but guess what? For the sake of Donald Trump, he is not your savior. Your conservative credentials did not save you. In today's GOP, loyalty may matter, unfortunately, more than your resume. So the pickle is this. Cassidy may have voted his conscience in 2021. But in the year of our Lord and Savior, 2026, Republican voters handed him his bill to exit out the door. For that, sir, you are a pickle. Don't let the door hit you on your way out. That's my pickle for the week, fellas.
Yeah, he had a tough one.
Hey,
let's go ahead and get this prayer circle going for Brother Massey, because
hey, look, he about made it as a pickle, but I said I'm gonna hold out and just see. But it may be a similar fate, brother. Well, what do we say all the time, Manny? What does it profit a man to gain the world
and lose his soul?
Lose his soul.
But the difference with Massey is Massey didn't come around looking like a bootlicker afterwards.
Correct. That is facts. That is facts.
Massey would stand on business. He would stand on principle. Cassidy looked like a bootlicker at times.
Yep.
Terrible boy. I never understand. I can't imagine the bootlicking for a man that ain't got no power over you, and he ain't the man upstairs.
Is not.
I just can't understand it. But hey, maybe that's another a world of power that I haven't been exposed to. But if it is, I don't want no parts. Keep me where I'm at.
I'm fine. I'm fine right here.
I'm fine right here. Well, to our listeners, we have reached the end of our episode, and as you guys know, when we reach the end of our episode, we like to give you our spotlight of the week. So I'm gonna go to my brother Manny here, and Manny, what is your spotlight of the week?
Well, we are going to head back home to the good old state of North Carolina.
Hey, shout out Pete Pablo, North Carolina, stand up.
We're gonna be looking forward to. We're gonna be looking forward towards the general election. So in North Carolina, the only way to get a change to the Constitution and add a constitutional amendment to our state's Constitution is it has to go through our General Assembly, and then it also has to then go to a giant vote of the populace that will ultimately decide if it lands on the Constitution. And right now, there are six. Hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry, 7. There are 7 different attempts going on right now for different amendments to be added to the Constitution. One is voter ID by mail, requiring you to send in a copy of your voter ID with your mail-in ballot. There's that one has been confirmed. That will be on the ballot. Every other one that I'm getting ready to talk to at the time of recording of this podcast is still going through the House and Senate. So it may not land, but let's go ahead and hit them so you guys are all aware. The next one is an income tax cap of 5%. So right now, North Carolina took our income tax to about 4.9, with it going to, I believe, is 3.7 over the next couple of years as part of what was in the ballot, in the budget fight that is slowly resolving itself. Mm-hmm. So that is up there. There's a comparable one working its way through the Senate to tax it at 3.5%. So really limiting the amount of money that the state can pull in via income taxes in perpetuity. There's another one about the right to farm. I found that one as quite interesting because I didn't feel like the right to farm was under attack in North Carolina, but it would add a constitutional right to engage in farming and forestry in the state of North Carolina. Do with that information what you will. The next one is a right to work. And this would constitutionally guarantee that no person's right to work can be denied based on membership or non-membership in a labor union or organization. Lots of critics on that. We'll see how that kind of plays out. The next one is there's kind of two, but it's dealing with marijuana decriminalization, basically under amount X that I still think has to be set. Carrying marijuana would not be criminalized. It would still be illegal, but it would not be a criminal action to carry it. And then also protections around medical marijuana. And then the last one is a request about corporate spending in campaigns. So this one was actually proposed by Representative Marcia Mori in Wake County. And this amendment would ban corporations from spending money or other things of value to influence North Carolina elections. So that's a lot of constitutional amendments, and I think this is going to end up ultimately being problematic because now on top of all of the other races that you have these things that are going to be on there that voters are going to have to be educated on anyways. And then the real complication around this will also be the language that ultimately ends up on the ballot. Because then there's a psychology to it in terms of, if I read this, do I agree with it or do I not agree with it? Because the answer on the ballot is are you for or against this? So the wording on it. So as things get confirmed and the ballot language is confirmed, that's where you'll see lots of education efforts. So the question you might be asking yourself, why are we doing this? Well, to change the Constitution, but then what is also being said, and this one was actually said by David McLennan, the director of the Meredith polling organization. He said, the Senate committee says this is just an attempt to ramp up Republican votes in the fall. The right to farm, I don't know what that really means, and there's no big threat to it. So a lot of this is what it seemed, and it's done on both sides when it's happening to be fair, to really just generate turnout. And it's a pretty high threshold. You need 70 votes in the House and about 30 in the Senate to get something onto the ballot. So a lot of this is already being talked about as ways to just generate and motivate people to come to the ballot. So like, hey, I'm not really excited to get out to vote for in the Senate race. Well, do you want to protect your right to farm?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to cap The income tax, yeah, I do want to cap it. Okay. We'll see what happens. But a lot of this I believe is being used to help generate and push people to the polls and encourage them to come out to the polls. Because remember, if you come out to the polls, all the stats say is that it is very likely that you will vote for at least the top two and then the constitutional amendments are usually on the back. So you have to then flip it over. So we'll see what happens. As this will continue, as language gets finalized, you'll definitely be hearing from us here at the pod to try to add some explanation in what these are doing, what this could mean. But again, a lot of these still have to go through the General Assembly, so there is no guarantee that these will hit the ballot. But things are starting to ramp up now that the budget work is out the way, and people are trying to wrap up work before they got to head back into their districts and start campaigning for this election cycle. So keep your eye on it. Things are happening and happening fast, and that is my spotlight for the week.
All right, our very peculiar state of North Carolina. It'd be interesting to see what happens, but I certainly agree with you, Manny, trying to get folks to rush to that ballot box, man. So we shall see what happens. So, Brother Chuck, what you got for a spotlight?
Man, I appreciate your spotlight, Manny, because it kind of feeds right into what I want to bring forth in my spotlight. My spotlight is the actions, the methods, the movement of individuals. I was going to centralize it on Black Americans, but I want this to be all who find offense to the actions that were taken recently by the Supreme Court with the gutting of the Voters Right Act. Over the weekend and on last week, there were different rallies and different voting rallies. Some of them happened in Montgomery.
Were they rallies or parades?
No, these were rallies.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
That's why I call it a rally. But I also didn't call it a protest.
Right.
Although we could, because they are demanding the protection of voting rights. But it definitely was not a parade. But in this, there were things that happened in Montgomery, Alabama, and for the historical context, the Montgomery bus boycotts, you had individuals coming from all over the countries to converge on Montgomery in protest of the actions of not only the Supreme Court, but the different state legislators legislative bodies who have gone to draw new maps and redistrict to disenfranchise and minimize the voices, or in an attempt to minimize the voices of the voting constituents in those areas, particularly minorities. Most times you hear Black individuals, but the focus is on minorities because once it's done to the Black population, it makes it easy to do it to everybody else.
Yep.
So in this, there were marches in Selma and many different other areas. I think there was something done here in Atlanta. My challenge to you is, let's not just walk. Let's not just talk. Let's not just make signs. Mm-hmm. It's time for action. It's time to hold town halls, to educate, to inform, to mobilize. Now is the time to show up and show out. If you have turnout, these efforts that they made to shrink the voting districts will be a moot point. And the reason for that is they've overextended themselves and they don't even realize it. You have watered down your voting power. We just talked about this a couple weeks ago when you redraw these maps. Because now, where you had an area that was a stronghold and you had a large concentration of numbers, you try to break it down and spread it out so that you look like you have the upper hand. But what they did not account for, and I cannot remember there was either a secret recording or a hot mic of a representative stating we may have caused our own downfall. And I want to say it was in South Carolina because we may have empowered the black population to increase their voter turnout by redrawing these maps. So I challenge you, organizers, don't just plan marches and rallies and parades. Create a town hall. We've told y'all time and time again, the amount of information that we have to absorb and break down just to provide for you in this podcast. Imagine the everyday individual trying to find the right information on who they're supposed to vote for in their new district, where their polling place is. So get these town halls mobilized on election days. Drive people to the polls. Mm-hmm. You want voter turnout? Give them no excuse. Pound the pavement. That's your march. Mm-hmm. Sweep these areas, sweep these neighborhoods, sweep these communities, and get out and do something. That's where the difference is going to be made. That's my spotlight this week. That's also my challenge to you. Do something.
Hey. Preaching. Well, my spotlight of the week goes to the new leadership that we have at the Department of Homeland Security. We talked about Mark Wayne Mullen when he was going through his confirmation. But the DHS has been at the center of a lot of scrutiny and criticism, even from Kristi Noem, and now he has inherited a department that he has to work at getting it back centered to doing what it is supposed to be doing. And my spotlight is the work that he's trying to do while he's been recently put in this position. There's a disconnect in Washington, and that disconnect is with the DHS and with Congress because they simply just don't trust them from a leadership perspective. And I think that Mullins understands that. And in reports, it has been stated that he's trying to lower the temperature inside of DHS by reducing the chaos, reversing some of their controversial policies, and avoid the nonstop media firestorms that has really defined the department for over the past year. But that's going to be tough for him to do. Mm-hmm. One of the people that he'll have to, unfortunately, fortunately, maybe have to convince is that of Rand Paul, who, if you watch any of the confirmation hearing, is not someone that is particularly a fan of Mark Wayne. And I think that
he hate that man.
He hate that man. And hate might be an understatement. But somehow he's going to have to figure out in his leadership and cleaning up the DHS. He's going to have to figure out, though they have some personal tension and questions. I think one of the biggest hurdles is get Rand Paul to at least understand where he's coming from and what he's trying to do. And he's going to have to prove himself to one Rand, which, bruh, I would hate to have to prove myself to somebody that personally hates me.
Right.
He would have to do a hell of a job with the department, which is not impossible. I think that while Rand does not like him personally, I think that given if Mark Wayne does the right thing in his leadership capacity, I don't think that the personal will roll over into what Congress needs to do and the oversight that comes with the DHS. So I think that is a hurdle that if he can somehow climb and overcome, he would put the DHS in the best position that it can possibly be in, especially given some of the firestorms that it has received in the media. He's understanding that and he's doing something. There's movement that's being had. I think the first thing is cleaning up from the inside. He's working on that. Some of the controversial policies that have been in place, he's working on it. And I will say, all things being considered, since he has taken leadership, they have not been at the forefront of the media for a few weeks now. That could be a good thing or a bad thing.
That's true.
But as a spotlight, I want to keep our eye on it because while we may not agree with, Mark Wayne as a person or what he has done as his time in Congress, he potentially could be redefining and providing a new face to what the DHS looks like in the future. And if he can somehow mend and bridge the gap between DHS and Congress, he may be on to something. So that's my spotlight. I want to keep an eye on it because if he can clean it up, kudos. One thing we do here at the pod, we're gonna rate them hot coals up under you if you looking a fool. But if you're doing something good,
we're gonna say it.
We'll say it. We're not here. While we love to crack jokes and we love to do all those things, if a job is well done, a job is well done. And at least the first thing that we can say different than the head of the department that previously was taken away
no
with Chris Nones.
No $200 million commercial.
No commercials.
Like a rhinestone cowboy.
No, from what we can see, no ridiculous spending on things that do not improve the department. So at least from what I can see, for now, there's a clear understanding of where they're at and where they need to go.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. So, Mark Wayne.
Still a wild name. Still a wild name.
We shall see, but that is my spotlight of the week. So, gentlemen, we've reached the conclusion of our episode. And to our listeners, we're always grateful for you tuning in to another episode of Pardon the Politics podcast. Fellas, all hearts and minds clear?
Just
real quick, I would be remiss if I do not bring this up. Okay. Tuesday. I was about to be tripping. Tuesday is primary day here in Georgia.
Hey.
We got a very interesting race going on the Republican side, where the current Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones is going up against billionaire, what's that fool name? Jackson is his last name. I can't think of his first name.
Action?
But this guy.
I was just wondering, Ed.
This guy. I got to get his name because I want to talk about his ad. He has an ad where he says, if no matter if you're Muslim or from Morocco, you have no business coming to our country trying to force your culture on us. His name is Rick Jackson. And he says, if I'm governor, you're going to be doing one of two things. You're going to be deported or disappear.
Bruh.
That's an escalation.
You not. That is a political ad running on the television.
Is he the leader of Jackson Healthcare?
Yes.
Oh yeah, he definitely look like a person that would make a statement like that.
Yes.
and he would prefer to go with the second option.
Yeah, definitely prefer to go with the second option. So and then on the Democratic side, and then you also have Brad Raffensperger, who is the Secretary of State, who was the guy who Trump called to get that 11,780 votes, and trying to pressure him. So he's in that race as well. Then on the Democratic side, we have former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. We have, I don't want to say unknown because they were in state senate, but Keisha carries the heavy name. And then we have a guy named, what's that fool name? I can't even think of it. But he was a Republican, switched sides to Democrats. And then, the other races, John Ossoff. Yeah. John Ossoff is fighting for his seat. I think he's running unopposed on the primary side, but in the general, he will be, up for a challenge for his seat in the Senate, as well as many there's a couple of Supreme Court, Georgia Supreme Court judge positions, state Secretary of State, Attorney General, different positions that are on the ballot. So the Democratic side, the ballot is quite long. If you're a Georgia listener, please make sure that you go to the bottom of your ballot and vote for your judges, Supreme Court, Court of Appeals. Make sure you vote for those. I won't provide an endorsement right now. Maybe in general, during the general, but yeah, I just wanted to bring that up, that it's primary day for us here in Georgia.
And for me, quick shout out to our listeners, but I also want to shout out the Carolina Hurricanes and the Colorado Avalanche for both making their way to the respective Eastern and Western Conference championships, teeing up what could be a Colorado Avalanche Carolina Hurricanes Stanley Cup final.
And the Hurricanes are still waiting to see who they're going to play.
Yeah.
That's wild.
The last game was 8-3 in an elimination game for Buffalo. So we'll see who they play, but they've been off. I think they've played 8 games in 36 days. It is the longest layoff in playoff history in the
That's
NHL.
wild.
Rust.
Yep, I was about to say.
Well, benefits of running the sweep the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, for sure.
So
we shall see. Carolina
to our
Hurricanes.
listeners, please make sure to like, share, and follow.
Yes, indeed. Carolina Hurricanes, shout out to you. And for those of you that don't know, the funny thing about if Carolina and the Colorado Avalanche make it, Manny is a Avalanche fan living in a hurricane state. Talk
the
about a house
talk
divided.
has already started.
A house
here
divided.
and around me.
So yeah, we definitely gonna keep an eye on that. And to our listeners, please like, share, and follow the podcast. It's one thing to listen. We appreciate the listen, but it does us a great service when you take that episode, that knowledge, the laughs that you share with us, and share them with another person. Because at the end of the day, that's all we're trying to do. We're just trying to share the love and joy with one another. So with that being said, to our listeners, we hope this episode finds you in the best space possible, and just realize and know that if don't nobody love you, the boys here at the pod, we love you. Take care, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care, world. Peace.